Tonight, Labour walks out of dialogue with federal government over new price of petrol, alleges government is putting them at risk before the public. More concerns over safety of lives along Kaduna-Abuja highway. 9 kidnapped students of Ahmadu Bello University regained freedom after 1 week. Nasarawa state government orders investigation into murder of state APC chieftain Philip Shekwo. And indications emerged that first Americans to receive COVID-19 vaccine could get a jab as soon as December the 11th.
Madam, keep it there.
They will take it as proud.
It's wrong. No. Let him go. Since he said it's shouting on.
Those are scenes from the venue of the meeting between members of the organized Labour and the federal government delegation a while ago in the nation's capital, Abuja. Members of the union staged a walkout from the meeting set up to address issues on the new pump price of petrol and electricity tariff. In barely 5 minutes, the TUC president, Ogere, insisted that pertinent issues of the hike in the price of fuel and electricity ought to be discussed before issues of palliatives are brought up. He also accused the federal government of dishonesty, playing to the gallery, and painting the organized Labour in a bad light before civil servants and the public. They accused the federal government of putting them at risk because the public are of the opinion that they have been compromised. In attendance from the federal government are the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, the Minister of State, Festus Keyamo, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva, the Minister of State for Power, Godi Agba, and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa.
We had already a circulated agenda for the meeting. They have it. And in a meeting, if you want to change the agenda, everybody will agree. That is how meetings proceedings go. So there was no consensus addendum on that. And we felt that the item of increase in PMS, having been listed at all as an additional item, will have satisfied everybody.
This meeting is not going to be as usual. Why? Because we have seen the insincerity of governments, and it's putting us at risk. They are taking us for a ride which cannot continue. We are in the process of discussing for over 3 months now, and they made an announcement increasing the fuel price again, and no other person than NNPC, when has authority been given to NNPC to increase the price of PMS? This is unacceptable. The meeting agenda is not well prioritized, and because of that, we are leaving the meeting. We will not continue. We'll go back to our organ, and we are going to get back to you on the next line of action.
The 9 students of the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria in Kaduna State who were kidnapped last Sunday by gunmen have been released from captivity. The students were abducted at the Akilubu-Gidan-Busa axis of the Abuja-Kaduna highway when the bandits suspected to be kidnappers blocked the 2 lanes of the road and then opened fire on their vehicle. They were traveling from Zaria to Lagos for an academic program when the incident occurred. The Director of Public Affairs of the Ahmadu Bello University, Alwalu Umar, who confirmed the development to Channels Television, says the students have been reunited with their families after their release. He, however, did not say if any ransom was paid by either the school or parents of the students before they were released. Meanwhile, 3 persons have also been reportedly killed by bandits at the Rigasa community in the Igabi local government area of the state. Among the victims was a former students' union leader of Bayero University, Kano, and one of the promoters of the hashtag Secure North movement, Rabiu Alwal. Well, the Kaduna state government is assuring travelers and other residents of communities on the Kaduna-Abuja highway that the road is still safe, insisting that security operatives have not abandoned motorists and travelers on the highway. The state government and military authorities say there are more boots on the ground to secure the road and ensure the safety of those using the road on a daily basis, as well as residents of the general area. They gave an assurance during a tour of the highway.
Kaduna-Abuja highway has been in the spotlight in the past 3 years because of activities of bandits who terrorized motorists plying the road. This important road is the gateway between the North and the Federal Capital Territory, as well as a link between the southern part of the country and the Northwest Zone. Last week's attack at Akwa Ibom community along the highway, where bandits killed 2 people, has again renewed security concerns among Nigerians. But the Kaduna state government says despite the latest attack, it will do everything within its powers to ensure the safety of those using the road, as well as residents of the area. Ground troops of Operation Thunderstrike and police operatives of the Operation Puff Adder are presently carrying out aggressive fighting patrols on the route, which stretches across 3 local government areas, namely Chukun, Kachia and Karagako. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, accompanied by the coordinator of Operation Thunderstrike, Colonel Ibrahim Gambari, took a tour of the road and is happy with the visibility of security forces stationed along the highway.
We are here to see for ourselves, and as you can see, motorists are plying the road, contrary to the information that motorists or travelers have abandoned the road. You've seen motorists traveling in and out of the 2 sides of the road. And I want to assure Nigerians, especially those that are plying this road, that the military, the police and Kaduna state government are working assiduously. Contrary to the information that security agencies have abandoned the road, it is not true. We are committed to this.
As part of efforts to strengthen the fight against bandits and kidnappers, the Commissioner also held a meeting with stakeholders at Akwa Ibom community, one of the major flashpoints for kidnapping along the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
Lord, protect them.
Prayers were also offered for the return of peace in the area. The presence of troops on the Abuja-Kaduna highway may help rekindle hope that motorists will be safe while plying the road.
There may be more to the murder of the chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Nasarawa State, Mr. Philip Shekwo, as the police authorities in the state are linking it to an assassination. Mr. Shekwo was abducted last night by gunmen and his body found close to his house this morning. The State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Bola Lunge, told Channels Television that a thorough investigation has been initiated into the incident, while the state government has ordered a manhunt for the killers. A statement from the government says the killing has furthered their resolve to fight crime and secure lives. And the Commissioner of Police say they have already swung into action on the matter.
It was shot at in 2 places, and we have taken him to Dash morgue for autopsy. And apart from that, we have constituted a team of investigators, homicide investigators. We are going to, by the grace of God, do, a thorough professional investigation that we enrad whatsoever led to the death. It's going to be both center down and bottom, approach investigation. We will mobilize the superstructure and the substructure. And even the IG has promised that it will assist us. So by the grace of God, we will get to the, out of the whole episode.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the killing of Chief Philip Shekwo, asking the security agencies to do more to end violence in the country. The president, in a statement, commiserated with the family of the late APC chieftain, describing him as kind and valuable to the party. He says he supports the decision of the Inspector General of Police to send reinforcement of men and materials to Nasarawa State. And there's some good news from Zamfara State, where Governor Bello Matawalle has again facilitated the unconditional rescue of 11 kidnapped victims, and he says he did so without paying any ransom. Governor Matawalle, who received the victims at the government house, says their rescue was achieved through the carrot and stick initiative of his government.
It's been a nerve-wracking couple of days for the family members and loved ones of these individuals who were kidnapped in Zamfara state recently. The victims, 10 males and a female, are from Bukuyum local government area of the state. The Zamfara state governor secured their release on Saturday, November 21st. While receiving the kidnapped victims, Governor Matawali assured that his administration will not rest until total peace is achieved in all parts of his state. He also explained that the peace accord and reconciliation process with repentant bandits will be sustained in the state, while the unrepentant ones will face the full wrath of the law.
These are the people that they are under captivity for almost 2 to 3 months. But with all the security that we have, they cannot be able to secure their release. But because of the reconciliation, look at what happened today. They will get a freedom for today. So it's very, very important for us here in the north to make sure that they should key into this dialogue so that we can be able to discuss with those that are thinking that the government is not doing well. We shall invite all of them. We shall sit down with them and, put it in a table and find out the solution for all of us. And we have already started discussing with all the governors in the northern state. And I assure you that in the next 2 months, a strong committee will be formed so that we can make sure that we can look at various situations in other states so that we come off with a resolution among all of us so that we can do at least one dialogue process in the whole northern Nigeria.
Handing over the kidnapped victims to the governor, the State Commissioner of Security and Home Affairs, Abubakar Dauran, said the victims were released as a result of the governor's peace initiative and also following a stakeholders meeting summoned by Governor Matawali with all the critical stakeholders from Bukuyum local government area of the state.
You must at least sit down in a round table. That's what we did. We sit down together with the executive governor in a round table, we discussed, and today they were rescued. So we thank God for that, and inshallah we are going to continue with this dialogue.
The rescued victims expressed delight and gratitude to Governor Matawali, who they described as a peacemaker and bridge builder in the state. Following the governor's directive, they will be taken to the hospital for checkup and treatment if necessary before their final release to their respective families.
In part 2, after the break, we have more on the security situation in the country, especially with the rising cases of kidnapping. We will take the perspectives of Brigadier General Jejalola Karim on the way out, and of course, we'll be telling you more about it. Join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Labour walks out of dialogue with federal government over new price of petrol, alleges government is putting them at risk before the public. And more concern over safety of lives along Kaduna-Abuja highway. 9 kidnapped students of the Ahmadu Bello University regained freedom after 1 week. Nasarawa state government orders investigation into murder of state APC chieftain Philip Shekwo. And indications emerged that first Americans to receive COVID-19 vaccine could get a jab as soon as December the 11th. Let's move to Bauchi State, where members of a vigilante group known as Peace and Security Committee have been attacked in their homes by thugs, leaving many of them injured. This is happening at a time when apprehension among residents of the state is increasing over the spate of armed robbery, especially in the metropolis. Our correspondent, Hajara Aliyu, gives us more.
It was tagged a house-to-house raid, an operation carried out by thugs in Bauchi metropolis, which targeted members of the Peace and Security Committee of Ofordumi area. In the early hours, each of these victims were attacked in their homes while asleep. They were stabbed several times, leaving them with injuries to nas.
Ana kan kokarin balla kowa sai nace su waye suka ce wayannan sun zo kashe ka ne masu kashe ka ne.
Their robbers, patrol vehicle, uniforms, and some personal possessions set ablaze. The police have paraded 20 suspects linked to the raid.
It's an organized crime whereby some of them came from Bauchi, some of them came from Plateau State, some of them from Kano and other states, some of them from Gombe. They came here, they assembled themselves and perpetrate those acts that you see here.
Some of them here are suspects of recent robbery attacks. They go about in large groups to perpetrate crime, as some of their victims lament.
This thing is rampant everywhere, because apart from even that axis, Yelwa axis and Rafin Zulfi, British axis, even inside the town also.
Members of this vigilante are known for settling community disputes, providing intelligence reports in addition to complementing efforts of various security agencies. Despite the attack, they are unperturbed as they march to the government house in a show of strength.
This attack is not enough to bring our effort down. It's not enough to say that we are leaving this activity of committee. Instead of that, we are putting more grease into our elbow to see that we degrade them.
The government has promised to provide them with the necessary support.
So they're trying to use this as a scare tactic, and it's not going to work. Government, His Excellency the Governor, will continue to encourage this committee and indeed all peace-loving citizens to ensure that we nip any security challenge in the bud.
For now, residents can only hope that the new measures taken to tackle crime will yield positive results. Hajira Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Now, experts have been reacting to the security situation in the northern part of the country. Security risk management and intelligence specialist Dr. Kabir Adamo thinks the nation is losing the war against banditry, kidnapping and other forms of crime. He proposes solutions which he considers will be potent in checking the criminal trend.
In simple terms, in criminology, there are ways to tackle crime. Kidnapping and banditry are all crime activities. Now, the criminology recommends what it calls the crime triangle. And there are three things to look out in the crime triangle. One is the opportunity to commit the offense, then the ability to commit the offense, as well as the desire to commit the offense. Now, if you tinker any of these three things, you would greatly reduce the activity. So in this instance, how do you tinker it? Number one is increase the risk of apprehension. Make sure if they commit it, you arrest them. Number two, increase the effort to commit the offense. Then, of course, if the effort is too much, they will drop it and probably go and do something else. Then lastly, and more importantly, reduce the reward to the offender. Let it reach a stage where payment of ransom is difficult, and even where it's paid, then the beneficiary is unable to spend it. And then, I mean, once we do these three things, we would bring all of this to an end.
Army General Brigadier General Jeje Karim considers the military and other security operatives as only partners in prosecuting the fight against crime. General Karim thinks there may be need to change tactics in the fight.
And I wouldn't say we are losing the battle against banditry. All the security agencies are putting in their best. When you have this kind of internal security problem, it is not a problem that could be tackled so swiftly as people want us to believe. It takes time. It takes time, and in an asymmetric battle like this, where you don't know the enemy is not fixed, his position is not known, it actually takes a lot of time before it can be won. And mind you, the battle, the approach being taken by security agencies is just one approach. There are so many other approaches that could be taken, which ought to be taken together. So while the military is an aspect, the political leadership ought to be exploring other means too, in addition to the kinetic approach.
There's been a fresh report of an alleged misuse of firearm by a police officer in Ekiti State. This time, the unidentified police officer reportedly shot dead a middle-aged man, Olaoye Akintayo, on Saturday evening while he was unwinding with his friends at an open space in a hotel in Ekiti. The victim's friend and other eyewitnesses confirmed to Channels Television that the police officer alighted from a Hilux van that entered into the hotel premises, and the next sound heard was that of gunshots, killing the young man, leaving another injured. The policeman and his other colleague reportedly dumped the corpse of the victim at the state teaching hospital before escaping and leaving the van at the hospital premises. The police public relations officer in the state, Sunday Abutu, confirms to Channels Television that the officer, who only followed his principal to the state, has been arrested. An investigation is in progress to unravel the reason for the shooting.
9:30, 10 at Queen's Court Hotel. My friends and my younger brothers, they were all there enjoying themselves without any issue. All of a sudden, an in-laws boss came in, white in-laws, Abuja number, came in with 3 policemen inside. Before we knew, or before we called Jack Robinson, they opened a gun and they started shooting, and they killed Kush, one of my brothers, and they shoot another one at leg. So the Kush is dead now, and Idris Adebayo is lying in Afe Babalola Hospital receiving treatment.
In Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike has ordered a 2-week, 24-hour curfew around the soon-to-be-completed Okoronudo flyover in Obiakpo local government area due to reported cases of incessant cult activities by some of the youth. Governor Wike made the pronouncement today during a statewide broadcast in Port Harcourt, and he says the curfew takes effect from tomorrow, November the 23rd. He adds that the decision became imperative after a State Security Council meeting.
By the recent upsurge of cult activities around the adjoining areas of Okorodo flyover in Obiakpo local government area. We have repeatedly warned misguided youths that engaging in cultism is abhorrent anti-social behavior in our society. We shall therefore spare no efforts to deal appropriately with anyone who decides to restore peace and security in our neighborhoods with cult activities and associated violence and killings. As part of measures to tackle this menace, therefore, the State Security Council met today and have agreed to impose a 24-hour total curfew for 2 weeks on the entire area along and around the Okorodo flyover up to 1 kilometer radius from St. Emmanuel Anglican Church, Rumokuru, extending to the Rumodomayam Slaughter and local government daily market with effect for tomorrow, Monday, the 23rd of November, 2020.
The Akwa Ibom state government has lifted the curfew imposed on the state as a result of security concerns after the NSAS protest was hijacked by hoodlums. The state government said in a statement that the decision, which was taken after wide consultations with security agencies in the state and the assurance that normalcy has now returned to Akwa Ibom state. The statement also adds that the discontinuation directive takes effect immediately. The suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, has been speaking on why he did not submit himself to the Code of Conduct Bureau, which invited him to answer questions about his assets. His reason is that the documents relating to his assets declaration were inside his office when he was arrested. He alleges that the documents he is required to bring should be in the custody of officers of the Department of State Service who arrested him on the order of the chairman of the Presidential Judicial Commission of Inquiry, Justice Isa Ayo Salami. Mr. Magu says it would be impossible for him to answer questions or produce documents that are in possession of the DSS and the panel. He's requesting an extension of the invitation it issued to him pending the return of the documents to him. When the news at 10 returns, strategic political defections begin ahead of the 2023 elections. Our in-house data analyst Babajide Ogunsawo has been checking the books as the game begins. He joins us in a moment. Welcome back. 2019 vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party and former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, has blamed the Buhari administration for the nation sliding into another recession, a second time in 4 years. Mr. Obi believes the borrowing plans of the government is not plowed for the right purposes. He asked for a strict cut in cost of governance, warning of a very tough period for the nation's economy. The former Anambra State governor was a guest on our political program, Sunday Politics.
The monies we borrowed to pull ourselves out of the first one was not properly invested. The money we're borrowing today to keep going are not being properly invested. So what we need now is to go into a very gross regime of formulating a very gross, I said it before, implementable and measurable monetary and fiscal policies to drive ourselves out of the present situation. Most of the micro, small, medium businesses have collapsed. Those who haven't collapsed are actually on life support. And something needs to be done to put them out of there. We now have to move this economy from consumption to production. We have to make it a productive economy.
Meanwhile, the federal government insists it is doing its best to cushion the effect of the recession and is hopeful that Nigeria is on the right track to exit the recession as well. Those are some of the responses by the Vice President's media aide, Mr. Laolu Akonde. He was also on our Sunday Politics program.
That already the Nigerian economy is on its way to recovery. And this is going to be mainly because of the economic sustainability plan that the president had put in place and asked the vice president to chair its development and implementation. Now, if you follow the news very closely, you will have noticed that some of the stimulus in that plan, including one-time grant for artisans, is already going on. In about 12 states, artisans are receiving a one-time grant of 30,000 naira to help them. There are testimonies of the beneficiaries all over the place. About 2 or 3 days ago, I think on Thursday, the payroll support scheme, which is also another part of the stimulus package under the Survivor Fund, just like the artisans grant, that has also already started. By Thursday, we had paid payroll support the first month. It's going to be for 3 months. We've paid over 100,000 employees of private farms who were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ahead of the local government council election in Kogi State, Governor Yahaya Bello of the APC has complied with the affirmative action in ensuring that women are fully represented in political offices at the grassroots level. The governor, who was speaking during the All Progressives Congress Party meeting in Lokoja, the state capital, assures the people of fairness, equity, and justice in the party.
Your Excellency, you are most welcome, sir.
Kogi APC members, both from the state and federal level, gather in this hall at the government house Lokoja. They are here at the instance of the governor to assess the level of preparedness of the party for the forthcoming council election slated for December the 12th, 2020.
The leader of the state and the party
The main discourse is on increasing women participation in local government elections.
Today, we have able party loyalists and faithful who are serving as our candidate, chairman candidate, as well as councillorship for the forthcoming December 12th election.
The convener of the meeting and governor of the state, Yahaya Bello, says the decision to allow more women into elective positions is to practice the gender affirmative action as directed at the Beijing conference.
We shall conduct ourselves very well, follow all the electoral laws, rules, and regulations to ensure that we become victorious very smoothly. Once that is done, I am expecting that from Adavi local government down to Yagba East, we shall all have women as council leaders.
The governor's commitment to have women play a more active role in politics is already garnering support from lawmakers in the State House of Assembly, and they are promising to use the forthcoming local government elections as a test.
This is the first time in the history of Nigeria, by history, that that all vice chairmen in the state to be women, and women.
As the party looks forward to electing those that will represent it at the grassroots, other parties are looking to see that the poll is conducted hitch-free.
We're still talking politics. In Nigeria, everyone seems to be worried about something. Families are worried about COVID-19, businesses are worried about the decline in economic opportunities, and even politicians are worried about the next election. What direction is the breeze of defections heading? Babajide Ogunsawo, data consultant, is here on the news at 10 to share insights on the economy and the politics. Great to have you, Babajide.
Good evening, Ayo.
All right, so let's take a look at the situation at hand. The economy. Of course, we always say the economy comes before politics. Now we're in a recession. What's going on?
There's a lot. There's a lot for us to learn from history because we need to look at what exactly happened when this recession happened in 2016. And when we had that first quarter in 2016 of decline in economic growth, we then had 5 consecutive quarters of decline in economic growth. What this means is if this trend happens again this time around, we will be seeing a decline in economic growth for another 5 quarters, which means that we will not return to positive growth until the 3rd quarter of next year. So we need to learn from history and learn about how we can quickly get out of this growth. But before we talk about what the government should consider, let's take a quick look at the summary of the National Bureau's report about the current situation of the economy. And if we take a close look at the report, the first thing is, yes, we're looking at a minus 3.6% decline in economic growth. There was a decline in the industry sector. There was a decline in the services sector. And we saw a bit of a marginal growth in the agricultural sector. The biggest decline happened in the oil sector, minus 13.9% decline in the oil sector. But the good news is that the oil sector accounts for only about less than 10% of the country's economy. The challenge we have today is the non-oil sector, where more than 90% of economic activities are located. And the non-oil sector currently is also witnessing a minus 2.5% decline in economic growth. So it's been a mixture of bad and some good news from the agricultural sector.
All right. Actually, I want us to talk about the issue of political defections going on in the country at the moment. Now, let's talk about the governor of Ebonyi State, okay? This week, he defected from the APC, from the PDP, rather, to the APC. And, of course, he's given his reasons for doing that. Now, I want to ask you, do we have differences in political ideology at this moment in time with these sort of defections that we're experiencing?
So from research, there are 3 types of ideologies that research points to that the Nigerian politician has. Tonight I'll talk about 2 of those ideologies. The first is the regional ideology. By regional ideology, when we look at the current map of the governors, we know that in the north, the APC currently has 14 governors in the north. The PDP only has 5 governors in the north. In the south, the APC has 5, if I'm right, the APC has 7 governors and the PDP has 9 governors. So
in the whole of the South?
In the whole of the South. So that's Southwest, Southeast, and the South-South. So
combined.
currently, the APC is strong in the Northern Bloc region, and the PDP remains strong in the Northern Bloc region. So that's the first ideology. We are really seeing regional ideologies. The second ideology today is we've seen that we have a spiritual ideology. And by spiritual ideology, if you follow the patterns and the comments of the politicians, even the governor of Ebonyi State, when Shehu Okinbalo asked him what the difference is, he said he hadn't read the manifesto of the APC and that he was also going to wait on God to determine if he will run for president. And we've seen that God factor from several politicians, either them saying they haven't decided and they are waiting to hear from God, or some have clearly come out to say God told them to run. In all of the the politicians and in all of the big politicians that have come out for elections, the spiritual ideology seems to override even the development ideology. So elections in Nigeria is not really left-wing or right-wing politics or liberal or conservative politics. It's really regional and spiritual.
Regional and spiritual. All right, now let's talk about the political outlook. In the short term, what should we be expecting? What is the political outlook?
So there are several ways. We could look at the distribution of the current map, which is we have 1 APGA governor, we have 14 PDP governors, and we have 21 APC governors. But let's take a look at the key thing, those that will really determine what will happen in the next general election. I'm talking about the 22 governors that we currently have in Nigeria that are second-term governors and will not be coming for re-election.
After 2023.
And the important thing about these 22 governors is whatever happens in these states, there will be new governors in the general election. And these governors are the most powerful governors in Nigeria today. If you carefully look at what's going on in the Northwest, you see that the Northwest is key. All the governors in the Northwest will not be coming back except the governor of Zamfara State. That's one key regional block. The second regional block is the South-South. In the 2023 elections, as we go into those elections, all the governors will not be coming back except the governor of Bayelsa State, another key regional block. And in the Southeast, all the governors will not be coming back in 2023 except the governor of Imo State. So speaking about the short-term outlook, the Northwest, the South-South, and the Southeast are critical things to really focus on. And that's why we see a lot of discussions and negotiations around what's going on in these three regions.
Now let's talk about the importance of zoning in the next election. How important will that be? We talk of zoning, especially for the presidency and whatnot.
Now, the evidence from zoning shows that zoning is not just important for elections. Zoning is also important for national security. And if we look at the trends, now let's listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you because it's important. In 1979, that's over 4 decades ago, when we had the presidential election in Anambra State, in the East Central states, Anambra and Enugu State, 2.3 million people from these 2 eastern states came out to vote, 2.3 million. In the last election, we didn't even have up to 2.3 million people coming out to vote in the southeastern bloc. So we've seen a real apathy to voting from the southeastern region, and that also points to political implications. Let's really understand this. In 2011, out of all the valid votes, 13% of those valid votes came from the 5 states in the southeast. In 2015, out of all the valid votes, only 10%, it shrunk, came from the southeast. And in 2019, the last election, only 8% of all the valid votes came from the southeast. So what we are saying is the southeast, the numbers are declining from the southeast. This has significant security implications because it tells that we are seeing voter apathy from the southeast. We've seen Ebonyi State governor, but the challenge we have is people are already permutating and asking what will be happening in Ebonyi State. The facts we have from the census report shows that Ebonyi State is not only the smallest state in terms of population in the south, Ebonyi State is the 3rd smallest state in the country as measured by population. So only Nasarawa State and Bayelsa State have populations that are larger than Ebonyi. So maybe it is not certain if the magic wand, if it goes to the southeast, will come from Ebonyi. But what we know as a matter of fact is that as the years and as the decades have gone by, we are seeing less voter participation from the southeast, and this has not just electoral implications, it has, and it points to national security implications. And in the final analysis, let's not forget, not voting is not a sign of protest.
All right.
It is a sign of surrender. So let's start counting to 2023.
All right, we'll start counting from now till 2023, and definitely we'll be keeping tabs on the situation as it progresses in the coming years ahead. Babajide Ogusanwo, data consultant, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
All mine, Ayo.
The federal government has domesticated all research relating to the global COVID-19 pandemic and other epidemics at the newly established Federal University of Health Sciences in Otukpo, Benue State. The president of the Nigerian Medical Association, Professor Innocent Uja, believes this will help to guide against future health challenges in the country.
This in Nigeria's health sector are no surprise to anyone. What was shocking is how endemic the lapses are, as exposed by the coronavirus pandemic. But all hope is not lost. The federal government is establishing Nigeria's first Federal University of Health Sciences right here in Otukpo, Benue State. And it is part of the plan to fill the gaps in the sector, particularly when it comes to research. This event is to present to stakeholders the courses to be studied in the school when academic activities kick off in 2021. Professor Innocent Uja is to serve as the school's first vice-chancellor. He tells the guests that the nation is in short supply of consultants for pandemics and that the university will domesticate research and study on COVID-19 and other pandemics.
I want to state clearly that yes, it's a Federal University of Health Sciences, but it's not training medicine alone. It's going to train medicine, it's going to train pharmacists, it's going to train nurses, medical laboratory scientists, even the best, the faculty of science that will do BSc training in the sciences.
For the host governor, President Muhammadu Buhari's initiative at a time like this means access to quality and affordable health services and better health professionals are within reach.
This is not an Idoma University, it is not a Benue University, but a Nigerian university. Let better things continue to come to Benue. We don't want to be mourning. I don't want to continue to be a mourning governor. Every day crying. We want peace. We stand for peace. And as our father, we look unto him for more to come to Benue State.
Although the Federal University of Health Sciences is taking off from a temporary site in Otukpo, work is beginning at the permanent site in Akwa Ibom soon, with recruitment of tutorials for academic and non-academic staff already in progress for the commencement of studies in January of 2021.
The federal government has ordered an immediate evacuation of trailers from the Ogere axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over indiscriminate parking and abuse of the road to allow the smooth reconstruction process of the expressway. The Ogun State Governor, Akwa Ibom, appealed for understanding and cooperation, just as he demanded for a special status for some critical federal government roads in the state.
The 127-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is adjudged the busiest arterial road in Nigeria. The highway links the southwest to the southeast and then the northern parts of the country. This reality may have informed its rehabilitation, expansion and reconstruction to aid free movement and improve trade, amongst other factors.
Present here today.
Because of the opportunities along this corridor, the Ogere community organized a town hall meeting with stakeholders as well as leaders of various associations to identify some of the challenges hampering construction work in the area.
Township roads along Ishara, Oderemo, Iperu, and Ogere are now in terrible shape. This is largely due to the fact that these our township roads were not constructed for such heavy vehicles and traffic.
We don't have space until we repair the trailer parks we are having now. Because the other trailer parks is a private sector. Even the owners can pull it. Nowhere to accommodate the trailers. Please, I want Governor to respond on this and assist the community.
The Ogun State Governor, Akwa Ibom, explains some of the ongoing effort at removing shanties from the road.
We have plans on their way to create a trailer park
before the Shagamu interchange, just like the Seriki Hausa had suggested, believing that that trailer park, if enforced, will ensure that trailers, after a certain time, park at that trailer park before advancing towards the Ogere trailer park.
While responding to some of these questions, the Minister of Works, Babatunde Fashola, ordered the immediate evacuation of trailers from the Ogere axis of the expressway.
You cannot run your business at the expense of the convenience and the livelihoods of millions of people. So money that is hard to find and road that has been difficult to build, we have already started pouring diesel on it. That is the beginning of the destruction of the road. And my appeal to you today is to immediately leave the road.
The minister also seized the occasion to reiterate the commitment of the federal government towards developing the critical infrastructure to boost the nation's economy.
U.S. officials have granted emergency authorization for an experimental antibody treatment that was given to U.S. President Donald Trump after his COVID-19 diagnosis. Well, this comes as COVID-19 cases in the country continues to rise. Well, here's more on our Global Updates report.
As cases in the United States hit the 12 million mark, California has begun a nighttime curfew in an attempt to curb a surge in infections. Local media reports the western state's latest figures are now worse than the previous peak in August. Meanwhile, the Food and Drug Administration has granted emergency authorization for the use of a drug developed by Regeneron for use in people who have tested positive for the virus and are at risk of severe illness. It seems Britons might not be able to enjoy a normal Christmas this year due to the second wave of COVID-19. This is according to Finance Minister Rishi Sunak, but he says the government is looking at ways to enable families get together.
With regard to Christmas, I think frustrating as it is for all of us, Christmas is not going to be normal this year. But that said, the Prime Minister and everyone else were looking at ways to see how families can spend some time with each other over Christmas period. Obviously, that's something that we would like to do.
England will end its national lockdown on the 2nd of December, but will move into a tougher three-tiered system of local restrictions, with more areas facing severe constraints. In the Middle East, public health advisors in Palestine says a sharp rise in coronavirus infections in the Gaza Strip could overwhelm the enclave's medical system by next week. Gaza, where the dense and poor population of 2 million is vulnerable, has logged 14,000 coronavirus cases and 65 deaths, mostly since the month of August. And finally, the Australian state of New South Wales is set to reopen its border with neighbouring Victoria State for the first time since July, after coronavirus cases there fell to zero. Victoria State, which imposed a tough lockdown after a surge in cases, has reported no new infections since the beginning of November and is also relaxing its rules on wearing face masks.
Masks, which have played a very important part in delivering these low numbers and containing the spread of this virus, we're making a fundamental change. Masks will be required inside, in all settings inside. They will not be required when you are outside.
Australia has recorded about 900 deaths and 28,000 infections in total.
World number 4 Daniel Medvedev fought back to beat US Open champion Dominic Thiem and win the biggest title of his career at the ATP Finals in London. The Russian dug deep to claim a 4-6, 7-6, 6-4 victory over Thiem at the O2 Arena. In English football, Everton have climbed to 6th in the Premier League with a 3-2 victory over Fulham at Craven Cottage. In that game, a brace from Dominic Calvert-Lewin and a goal from Abdoulaye Doucouré gave the Toffees victory. West Ham beat Sheffield United. 10-man Arsenal were held to a goalless draw by Leeds United, while in the last game, Liverpool beat Leicester City 3-0 at Anfield. And Catalan giants FC Barcelona have confirmed that Gerard Piqué has sustained a serious knee injury. Piqué is expected to be out for at least 2 months. Tests have shown that he has a grade 3 sprain in the internal lateral ligament and partial injury to the anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee. And the main news again. The organized labor today walked out of the dialogue with the federal government over the new pump price of petrol. They allege that government is putting them at risk before the public. And that's it on the news at 10. Many thanks for watching. I am Ayotunde Balogun. Have a wonderful night.